One of Mike Austin's most powerful and fascinating concepts was his notion of the figure 7. So right after this, let's get a little bit more in depth into what the figure 7 was and how it's going to help you hit your longest and straightest drives ever. Stay tuned. So Mike Austin was a perennial top 10 Golf Digest teacher, also in the Guinness Book at one time for the longest drive in a professional round of golf at 515 yards. Now his idea of the figure 7 had to do with the length of the lead arm and the shoulder line, and you see how that forms a number 7, just like this. Let's listen to Mike a little bit more about it in his words.
I start this downswing by trying to raise my right heel, which forces my left hip outward and my weight down upon my left heel. It also causes my right shoulder to start lowering and my left shoulder to start raising. This in turn is moving this spoke. In other words, I utilize the shoulder as a hub and the left arm as a spoke. And when I make the shift, the hub and the spoke is moving.
Well, a lot of other instructors will teach you to either pull with this arm like this or to let it fall back down in front of you. Mike was totally the opposite of that. He believed that the pivot and the turn of the torso would drive that arm back around into impact again, and it actually wouldn't advance back from the top of the swing. So you might advance or wind the arm up across the chest, but he didn't believe that there was very much coming back to where you started from. And he believed that the more you could hold the 7 and the longer you could hold the 7 into impact, the farther you would hit the ball. So let me see if I can better illustrate this point with this hula hoop. If I were to put one end of the hula hoop at the base of my neck, which he believed is the swing circle center, and I'll put my arm down here, and we'll call this 6 o'clock. So when I start over the ball, my arm is at 6 o'clock. Now independently, of course there's going to be other parts moving, but if I just isolate the motion of the left arm, I'm going to take the left arm and I'm going to advance it. Here's 7 o'clock to your eye, and then here's 8 o'clock to your eye. And he believed that the arm would wind up around 2 hours or so. Now, give or take, some other people advance it a little farther than that, maybe even 2.5, maybe even 3 hours. In the case of like a Dustin Johnson or a Fred Couples, they get that arm closer to 3 hours around the clock. Now, of course, that's not the end of the backswing. So let's take our 8 o'clock position again here. And then, of course, we're going to wind up the torso and the pivot, and that's going to get us up to 10, 11, even 12 o'clock. So you can see how part of the wind-up is the arm advancing across the chest horizontally, and the rest of it's going to be the turning, the winding action of the bigger muscles of the torso and the hips. This is where you will now have formed the figure 7. You can see this 7 right here has now formed as kind of a tight diagonal 7. And what Mike is trying to impress on us here is that we're not going to let this arm ever go and ever return back to 6 o'clock again, but rather we're going to leave it here at 8 o'clock, and we're just going to unwind the wheel until the arm gets past the ball. Now see here, I'm still maintaining this tight figure 7, and the only way I could get my left arm back past the ball again was to pivot and turn. So again, 6 o'clock start. As you make your backswing, you're winding your arm up at least a couple hours to 8. Now from here, rather than pulling the arm down back around the circle again or letting it fall with gravity, instead we're going to leave it pinned back here across the chest and turn the hula hoop all the way through the impact zone. So this is what a lot of people are missing in their swing. They just simply do not complete that turn of the torso and a full pivoting of the hips and the weight shift, so they never get their left arm driven back to or even past the ball. So you can destroy the figure 7 both by just letting this drop with gravity or even trying to pull it down into the ball. You'll let go of the figure 7, and of course you're not getting your body to shift and turn enough to really create a ton of speed, but rather you're substituting one for the other. Now the other thing that this really cures is any chicken wing. You see, if you're letting go of the figure 7 too soon, it's a good chance then that the left arm is going to fly past the chest and the hips, then it's going to bend into this position as you follow through. So another great way to get rid of a chicken wing motion is to drive the figure 7 through impact this way, and then the outwards seeking force acting on this club head at this point will just throw that club out into space and let your left elbow fold more naturally. All right, let me see if I can make a swing where I do a decent job of maintaining the figure 7, and you're going to see that the arm does not make it back to where it started, but instead continues to be pinned across my chest even at impact. So looking at that swing in slow-mo, you can see that, yeah, I don't do it perfectly like Mike did. I still need to get rid of a little bit of pull action here in the middle, and that's costing me a little distance and accuracy. So one of the exercises you can do at home using that kind of hula hoop visual as your guide is you can wind the club up to about 9 o'clock here and hook it underneath with your opposite hand and practice shifting and turning until the left arm is way past the ball. And then you can let it go into its natural finish. Now the feel of this, if you're not used to it and you're used to doing more of a harpooning or a pulling down action, the feel is definitely more that you are leaving your hands back here at the top and that the release of the club seems to be happening back here while your body turns it through and gets it to the ball. But it definitely is the feeling that you're not advancing the handle of the club, but kind of leaving it back at the top of the swing while you turn through. So I hope that demonstration gave you a good visual, or as Mike used to say, mental imagery for you to establish and maintain the figure 7 through the impact zone. You're going to get 3 prime benefits. You're going to get higher club head speed, you're going to get better control over the face of the club as you go through impact, and you're going to get a really good consistent low point off your left instep, so no more fat shots or thin shots either. All right, I'm going to get back to work on my figure 7, but thanks so much for watching. I'm Steve, and as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.